Alright, good morning. We're starting off in the morning here. Everything's pretty well. And I'm going to try these fig preserves again. One of my co-workers grew a lot of habaneros, and they're beautiful. They look very tasty. I'm going to try something new. The last batch of fig preserves I made, they came out pretty good. They're in the cans now, jars. And so I'm going to try to get some more. I got some more figs. I was fortunate enough to get some more before the season ran out here in Virginia. These are not the ones we used in Louisiana. These are from California. They're a little bit bigger. They're a lot bigger. They're about twice the size of the figs we have in Louisiana. But they have a good flavor to them. So I'm thinking this flavor along with the habanero, it should make a pretty good kind of sweet, spicy jam. So right now I'm going to slice these up a little bit. I'll leave the husks on, and I'll try to go step by step as I go through so y'all can have the fig recipe. Mom didn't write it down all the way, so I'm kind of going by memory. So I got a little Wayne Tubes playing in the background to help my old memory, and we'll see how this goes. Alright, back to slicing. So for slicing, all you have to do is take the stem off. So I'll try to demo that here. I'm not a professional here, but just kind of cut the stem off there, and then we just cut him in half. I like to cut these big ones in half because it helps open up the heart. And these California figs have a thicker skin. This just helps them cook down. If you have the small figs with a thinner skin, you don't have to cut them in half. They'll cook down just fine. You don't have to worry about pureeing them either. Alright, let's finish these up. A note about the quality of fruit. Sometimes when you get them off the tree, you know, they're just right. Sometimes they ripen a little too far, okay? So you see something here looks like a little mold or something. That's fine. That's on the outside. As long as the rot doesn't go through. I'm going to show you a couple of these. These are okay. These are over ripened, but these are okay too with fruit, because we're going to clean this off and boil it down, and it just won't matter. It's going to go away. That's what you do with preserves. You cook down the worst fruit for your preserves and lengthen them and strengthen them. Okay, get on with this. Alright, we have them all in our pot. So the next part is important, and that's the water level. You want to go with some fresh, cool water. Fill it up a little bit. And you want to get it right about there to where you can just start to see the water. Unfortunately, Mama never wrote down how much water to fruit you put, but she always put it down to about right there. You can always add more water, but once it starts cooking down with the juice, it gets harder to take water out. You got to cook it down too long. The last batch I made, I had to cook down a long time. I think I'm going to put a little bit more water. Let me get me a measuring cup here. Got my coffee making right here. My measuring cup. I can't wait to get a gas stove again. God, it'll be such a blessing to have a gas stove. And let's see, we're going to fill this up. You start with cold water. Nice cold water. And I'm going to take it up to about right there. That's just right, see? That's just right. Alright, now we're going to put this on the stove and bring it to a boil. For the preservative, Mom always used cane sugar. This is as close as I could find here in Virginia. Looks pretty good. We're gonna put about 4 cups of sugar in this. Once again, she didn't write it down. What she used to do was she would just pour it until it made a little mound of sugar over the top. And her pot, she would start with the figs. The figs would be way up here in this big pot. It's that big kettle I still have up there. But we don't have fig trees here to get that many figs. She used to put a mound of sugar and she would just cook all that down. So we'll try our best right here. I think this will take about 4 cups of sugar. I'll show you what it looks like once I pour it in there. Alright. I only put 3 cups of sugar, but she used to put a lot more. I just don't like that much sugar in it because the figs are so sweet to begin with. So the sugar will act like almost like a preservative here. And some of Mama's fig jars, I had them. I ate some of her figs like that I had picked. I remember picking those figs that she jarred probably when I was 14. And I ate those figs years after she died. And that was probably, those preserves were in there for 10 years. And they were still good. She didn't put any, this other powder that I see now, this preserve oil or lemon or nothing. That's all she put. So we'll cook these down. I'll get this up to a rolling ball and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, we got that boiling down to get started. Now I'm going to puree these habaneros. I got enough habaneros here. I might have, I'm not sure how much to use. Mama never had habaneros in hers. So this is a departure. I'm going to go about 16 of those big figs to about 1.5 habaneros. That's about how many habaneros I have here. And we'll see how that comes out. It might be a little spicy, but that's kind of what we want. We want some flavor. The sweet, I'm going to take the seeds out, and I'll show you that step. I don't want to put any seeds in it. I just want the flavor from the habanero. So we'll see how that comes out. I think the sugar from the cooking these figs down, it'll stretch the flavor of the habanero, and we'll get a nice flavor out of this. So I'd like to thank my longtime friend and colleague from the late 90s, Mr. Tony Unti, down in Ballahack, Virginia, for introducing me to the habanero and how honey can stretch the flavor. So I'm going to take some of Tony's ideas and try to stretch the flavor of these habaneros in Mama's fig recipe, and we'll see how that comes out. We'll see how Weeks Island and Pecan Island, Louisiana matches with Southern Virginia here down by Ballahack. Alright, we'll take a look at this. Alright, I got them chopped up. And instead of hand cutting them, I decided to put a little water in the jar here and use this Ninja. That's going to go right in there. Look at all that flavor that's coming out. Now this is something Mama never had, but boy, I bet she'd have liked this Ninja. Really saves time. Alright, we're going to take a little sample here. Want to see how hot these habaneros are. And they are in fact tangy. Oh my God, these are just good. I would say these are good medium heat habaneros. These aren't the hottest habaneros I've ever had, but they're definitely not the coldest. So I say they're medium heat habanero. I'm just going to pour that right in there. And we're going to let this cook down. I'm going to get all that out of there. Let me get my little spatula. That's what we do. We're just going to put it in there. We're going to mix it. Alright, here we go. We got the habanero in there. The sugar. See, it's starting to ball down. You want to use your wooden spoon like this that's flat to stir with. That way you can get on the bottom of the pot, see? That's why this works. And we're just going to kind of get that all around in there. And we're going to let that boil. Give it a good stir. Give it a good stir to get it started. There we go. So that's why we didn't want to put too much water. And this is all going to cook down. We're going to let that cook down right there. Put that in there. I'm going to test this when it cooks for a little bit. I might add a little cayenne pepper to this. I'm not sure yet. I'm not going to force it. We don't want to do too much too soon. We're going to let this cook down, and we're going to see how the heat for these habaneros come out. With these medium habaneros, right now there's that little taste test I did. I'm thinking I could have put more habaneros, but we'll see. Okay, we let it come to a rolling boil for a few minutes and make sure everything comes to a boil. One thing to keep in mind when you're cooking preserves, you stir in it every now and then. The reason you stir with the flat spoon is you're really checking the bottom of your pot. You want to make sure you're not charring, because you did add sugar to this. The sugar will settle as you cook, and it'll make a black spot on the bottom of the pot, and that'll add a flavor to everything that you don't want. So now we got it a good boil. See, we started and it's still boiling. So we're going to come down and we're going to cut the temperature down a little bit. We want to keep it at a low boil. So I'm going to keep, since this is not gas, it's electric, I got to slowly go down a little bit every time. But then we'll take it down to a low boil, and then we're going to let that low boil cook for a few hours. This is going to cook for hours, okay? So you got to be able to commit some time to it. Alright, I'll show you the next step in a little minute. Alright, we're been boiling here now for about 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I got it reduced down. You want to keep it to about right here, about this level of boil, maybe a little bit lower. We'll let this cook down a little bit, then I'll lower the heat some more. But we still got to cook these down. These husks will start getting soft. And you see you want to leave the lid off the pot until let this boil away. We're going to let this boil away, and the water's going to go down as it boils away, and it's going to leave a nice thick, kind of like a syrupy texture to it. You'll see it as we get there. It don't look like it right now, but it's going to get there. Alright, so this, you want to get it about right there. And on this electric range, it's about right there. If it was on gas, I'd have the fire maybe about that much and not quite touching the pot, if you know what I mean. So that's where we're at. Alright, we're checking on it here. And every so often you take your flat spoon and you just kind of come down and you just kind of press through like this. That helps break up the fruit. This is why we didn't puree it before. I'm going to puree it in the pot as I cook it. Mama didn't have a fancy puree. She had this thing right up there, but that's if we want to make a fancy jam. One that we want to spread. This is something that's going to go on a toast, a cracker, on some cheese. It'll all be the same. You see the seeds kind of breaking loose right there? Yes, this is working good. We just do this every now and then. I don't know, maybe every 20-30 minutes or so. Kind of break it up. And these figs need a little more than maybe the figs you have in Louisiana, because of the husks here are a little thicker. And all this is going to cook down. After you stir, give it a tap, and we put the spoon watching. Make sure nothing happens. Alright, so we're here. We're about 2 hours into cooking it. You see it's starting to, as it cooks down, this is important to keep in mind. I turned my heat down a little bit more, because as this cooks down, the water becomes more syrupy with the fruit and everything. so that actually lowers the boiling point of the water. So instead of 210 degrees being the boiling point where we had our slow boil when we started, it's probably like about 190 or so. So what'll happen here, if you don't lower your temperature and if you don't keep stirring your pot, you don't have to keep stirring the pot all the time. I'd say come check it like every 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. If you don't do this every so often like that, what's going to happen is it's going to stick to the bottom of the pot and it's going to burn. So I might turn this down even more. I'm going to turn that down even more. This is where I miss the fire. When Mom would get it to this spot, we're going to prep our jars next. I got another kettle, I'm going to boil my jars and everything. When Mom would get to this spot, she would put the fire really low, like where you can just see the blue flame on the bottom of the fire ring under the pot. So we'll let this settle down and let him coast into his flavor. I got a spoon here. Let's take a little sample. See if I've got the cayenne right. I mean, I didn't put cayenne, I mean the habanero. Oh my God, that heat is just perfect. I was going to make this for Louisiana people. I could go a little spicier, but a lot of my Central Virginia friends, they don't like that much spice. I think this is just right for everybody. Alright, next update when it comes. Alright, we're back at the end. Notice I lowered this to a simmer just to keep it hot while I get my jars ready. This is looking just right. See, it has a nice meaty look to it. It's gonna settle over time even in the jar. But they're nice and soft. We didn't have to puree nothing. It just let it cook right down. And that's the best way to go. Low and slow. Take your time. Use your spoon and use your pot. I said I didn't put too much water when I started. If you look at some recipes online, they talk about covering the fruit completely in the water. We started with a stock about right here, and now we're down to there. So if we look at it, that's about where we started. We cooked it all the way down to there, and that's how much we wound up with. Okay, see how far it goes down? Yep. This is going to make about 12 or 16 little jars. I tasted already, so I got these little jars here, and these are like 4-ounce jars. They got nice decoration on them. I'm gonna put these in there since they're kind of spicy. I was gonna make a bunch of small ones to give to people to try it out and keep some for my own stock. I'm boiling some water here. Got my jar grabber. Got a ladle for scooping the fruit out into the jars. And I have my spoon for scooping the jars out, the lids. You're going to need to get you one of these funnels for the jar. And something to put, this is Formica, my cheap countertop. So we're going to need some, I got some big cutting boards and stuff, so I use that to put the hot jars on after I seal them. We'll do that though in a little bit. I got to get this water to a boil. But this came out really good. I'm really glad with the flavor. I was thinking about adding some cayenne or something to bring it out, and maybe some like a milder pepper to blend with it. But I think I'm gonna leave it like this because putting it into 4-ounce jar. If I want to make that into a barbecue sauce or something later, I can just open a jar and cook that down again with the rest of my sauces, and it'll bring out this flavor again, and I can make it more spicy then if I need to. Alright, so let's go. We're going to cut off and wait for the next step here. Alright, you got to ball your jars to sterilize them. I got a few packages here. I'm going to finish doing these. I ball the lids and jars, and I'll put them over here to cool. And while they're hot, it's good to do that because that way the jar won't crack. We're going to seal them when they're hot, and we're going to put our fruit in there. If you notice, this is still a nice consistency. This is about 20 minutes of setting after the last video I made, the last time I cut off. So, and you want it to get to be about this color. You don't want it to go darker because then it's going to start getting a burnt or scorched flavor. But you can make it as well done as you want. It'll only get thicker as you simmer it. See, look, see how the steam is coming up? That means there's almost no water left. It's mostly syrup. It's mostly syrup and fruit and whatever. In this case, we added some habanero spices. So this is exactly how you want it. See that? It's not a rolling steam. If I needed to, I could put a lid on this and let it set so it'll keep the heat. I might do that because I got to ball some jars. All right, we'll cut off until I get to the canning part. All right, we're all cooked down. We got our jars prepped. We got our lids prepped, and now we're going to put some in. These are 4-ounce jars. I've got about a 4-ounce ladle here. The trick is we want to fill the jar and not get any on the edge, because it is a pain in the butt cleaning sticky fruit off the edge. Let me get this out the way. We'll do a tie-in later. That's my bacon grease. I really hope everybody has some of that. So get yourself a nice, this is a regular mouth jar, not narrow, not these little ones, not narrow, not wide mouth. You put them on there. We get a nice, kind of move it around a little bit. This came out really good. I tasted it, and I was worried I didn't have enough habanero, but it hits you at the end of the sweet. So we get about that much now. We just put him in there. See, that's looking good. Then we just come up and we move on to the next one. Get some in there, and we come on, put him in there, and then we come on to the next one. See, and you want to give about that much, and we need to top it off a little bit. We can, but anyway, I'm going to move out and do these. I got my AC/DC in the background. We're going to fill these jars, and I'll come back when I got the lids in canning, and I'll show you how to put the closed jar in the pot of water so we can boil it and finish processing it. Okay, last step. I got all the lids on the jars. While they're still hot, we're going to finish processing them. Be careful not to touch it, okay? Remember, this was boiling hot preserve you put in here. So these jars are hot. That's where this little tool comes in handy. I held it with a towel while I tightened them. You want to put the lid on, you want to give them a good turn to tighten them. Then you come back to a pot of boiling water, and I use this colander here because it's just handy. But you can put a screen on the bottom of your pan. You just don't want the jar to sit directly on the bottom of the pan, and you put enough water to where it comes up at least halfway up the jar. So the water's got to cover the jar about this much. You don't want it to go over the top. Not necessary. And what we're going to do is we're going to boil these. We can process them. You let it get in there, it comes to a rolling boil, and you process them for 15 minutes, and then that finishes the sealing process. And then we're going to set them aside, and we're going to put another batch of jars in there and do those for 15 minutes. And at this point you need boiling water all the time. So a good thing to do, what I do here is I keep an extra kettle. I keep an extra kettle here of boiling water for in case I got to top it off, okay? But that's all we're doing. And I'm going to click off here, and I'm going to get these processing. And when it's time to trade them out, I'll turn the camera back on, and we'll see how it's going. I'll show you how the little caps will suck down in there once we do this. All right. All right. We're back here. We're going to get these out. Kind of tighten here. Come on, timer off. It's been 15 minutes here. Let's see if I can get them out of here. I might have to make some arrangements. Let's see, get that guy in there and get him on the edge. Well, these are just going to have to come out. I'm going to have to take this whole strainer up. Can't quite grab it. I gotta put the phone down for a minute. Well, I'll just switch over. Alright, I had to finagle my pot a little bit. Too much. I had to take the whole thing out. But anyway, when they come out, they're gonna be like very hot, so you don't want to touch them. So we're going to line them up over here to cool off. These things can be, 210 degrees or so. Depends on your altitude. We're going to space them out over here to cool off. And so we're going to let these cool off. We're going to let them cool all the way. As they cool, they're going to suck down. And let's get the next batch going in here. This part here can take a lot of time. There's 15 minutes a batch. If you have 2 pots, you can save a lot of time. I only set up 1 pot here, so I didn't really have that many jars to do. If we're doing a lot of jars, we'd have 3 or 4 pots running. Some low boil pots. I'm gonna put this guy in there. I'm not gonna put so many this time, so I can get them out next. So we're going to see what come right here. We're going to check our water level. It's a little bit low because we boiled some off. So we're going to add some of this boiling water. And he brings it up right to the spot we need. And we set our timer again for 15 minutes. Alright, and we're going to boil this and process these for 15 minutes. Alright, I'll come back when we're ready to set them up for cooling all the way. Alright, last video here. They're cooling still. Some of them are still hot. But see here, this one, the button is sucked down. That means it's sealed good. This one here, sucked down, sealing good. This one's still a little bit soft. It hasn't cooled enough. That's how you can tell when they're fully cooled, is when they go down. See, these are like, they're about ready. They're still very warm. So these are going to cool down a lot. I'll let them cool down overnight, and before I put them in the pantry or something. And then all you got to do to keep them is you don't want to leave them in direct sunlight and stuff. So keep them in a cool, dry place, and they'll be good for a long time.